last week, I hadn't, when we recorded the E3 episode, I hadn't finished Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart yet. I had been playing it, but I wasn't done. And then I think the next day I finished it because I took leave, so
You
I just
inhaled that game.
blommed. Yeah, I just blommed on the couch and finished it. Look, it's not a super long game. I'd say it's, in that region of like 15 to 20 hour type thing. If that, probably closer to 15. And that's with like everything done.
Yeah.
I platinumed the game. I did all the side quests.
Well, that's what I found hilarious is that you messaged me. We'd probably played about the same, like call it 3 hours, and you messaged me saying, yeah, like Ratchet and Clank's good, but it's not blowing me away like people, have. It's not as big as people have made it out to be. And then like literally the next day or 36 hours later, like, so I platinumed the game. And it's like, oh, okay, that was quite a 180. You don't just go from like this is good to like, damn, like I like this enough that I just went and got all the trophies as well. Although it's an easy platinum from what I've heard.
It is it's one of those like trying to think of another game that was similar to this, but I can't for the life of me now. But it's one of those where by the time you've finished it, you've pretty much got the majority of the trophies. So there's just like, I think I had like 3 or 4 that I needed to travel back and forwards to get a few things. And the only irritating one was there was a trophy tied to a particular weapon that I didn't actually use that much.
Was it the shield weapon?
Yeah.
My one colleague, he told me, he said, if you're going for that platinum, just be aware that's the one weapon you should use.
Yeah, because you need to get it to level 5 to unlock an ability, and then you need to kill certain enemies with that ability. So when I saw that, I think the gun was only on level 2, and I was like, oh, this sucks. So I had to like go and find people to shoot at this thing and grind. That was the only annoying one. What's weird is that there's no trophy for the gold bolts, which I found strange.
Yeah, so when you guys said you platinumed, I thought, oh shit, like you found all the gold bolts, but I've come to realize that that's not
there's
even
no trophy for that. Yeah, I mean, there's a trophy for a collectible, which is harder to find than the gold bolts because it's not on your map. And there's only one per planet, so I had to like I used a guide to find 2 of them. Like at that point, I'm not like gonna run around this map looking for this thing. Like I couldn't give a shit. So, but yeah, the game is good. Like you said, I think at the beginning I was enjoying it a bunch because I like Ratchet and Clank as a series a lot. I've played like I think probably all of them at this point, and I don't know. At the beginning, I was like, "This is really fun," but it's also this is Ratchet and Clank. There's no real
it's the same
difference. Yeah, I'm feeling like it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, coming in off the 2016 one, like because I'm brand new to the franchise, I've just played that. It literally rolled credits, moved over to the new one. I was like, huh, this is like exactly the same, just looks a lot prettier.
It starts off at a much more like high octane pace than the remake, which I appreciated because I felt like the remake really drags its heels in the first like hour. This one like gets you into the action really, really quickly, which is great. But yeah, it is Ratchet gameplay, and that doesn't really change throughout. It is still you get put into little combat arenas and you've got like lots of the one thing that you get here, which I really appreciate, is more mobility. So the inclusion of the dash is a huge one. And it seems like a no-brainer. It's like a dash, but it really changes up the flow of combat.
It's interesting playing the 2016 one because I know obviously it's a remake of the first game, which didn't have a dash or any sort of mobility. But
this is the first one to have a dash.
Yeah, but even playing that, I was like, holy shit, like this, like I enjoyed the game, no doubt about it, but I was just like, this lacks that movement, which every other game has now. It
needs that movement.
So having that come into Rift Apart is like very, very welcome.
Because previously you could only do those like little strafing somersaults, which are really fun to pull off. But I mean, and it feels like the combat is tuned for that dash because it feels a lot more chaotic. At least I started off the game playing on hard because I'd read that it was a bit easy. So I was like, okay, I have no problem with easy games, but I want a bit of a challenge. So I started it on like the second highest difficulty, whatever. And it definitely in some spots it's still pretty easy, but in others it's like you really need to keep, you need to be very mindful of your movement because you die quite frequently. So yeah, the additional movement is probably the biggest addition to the gameplay. Like the dash, the wall run is used here and there, but it's mostly for puzzles. So, there was never any wall runs in like combat arenas. There were one or two, but yeah, it's the things that the things that the trailers really focused on, prior to the game launching, don't really factor in as much. Like the Rift tether is nice, but it's just like it's a cool visual effect. It looks really, really cool, but it's not really like, it's nothing more than like a grapple to a point. You know what I mean? The interdimensional portal stuff is very sparingly used. Like it's only for one or two puzzles in every level. It's like a portal to that puzzle room, and that's about it. Like you are never using that thing on demand. You never have a weapon that can do that. Although it does factor into some incredible set pieces later on in the game, and that's really where I started not turning, but like really falling in love with this game. Is those set pieces that come, I'd say, from the middle of the game, and then they don't let up till the end. Like there are certain planets, and I'm not going to say which because you're still playing through them, but there are certain planets and certain set pieces on those planets which just are mind blowing. Just
amazing.
The number of moving parts in this level that are all like harmonizing while you are moving through them at this like breakneck pace. It's seriously impressive. Like some of the best set pieces I've ever seen in a game. On cool. Par with like the sort of stuff Naughty Dog does with Uncharted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff that I think, this game lives and dies on those moments, and there's so many good ones. So yeah, despite it feeling like a Ratchet game, it is. I don't think if you haven't enjoyed Ratchet in the past, I don't think you'll enjoy this one. Like,
no, I mean,
you'll appreciate how good it looks.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing. It's like go to a planet. The planet's got a theme, quote unquote, and each one is really nicely like bite sized. I think about an hour each or so. So, they feel breezy. They never overstay their welcome. And I like that you're constantly learning new things throughout. But it is the same thing.
Yeah.
The game, I mean, Ratchet and Clank has always been about its great weapons, and this one's no exception. The weapons are really fun to use. I mean, really like them.
And they use the look. So you'd know better because you've actually finished the game and used all the weapons. But thus far they use the DualSense. It's not quite like what's the term I'm looking for? It's not like game changing, but it's subtle enough to be like, if you with the starting weapon, for example, if you half press, like it shoots slow and steady, but if you push down all the way, it shoots a lot faster.
Like burst,
but and there's a few instances of that where it's like, well, here's this weapon which is a grenade. If you half press, it'll show you where it's going to go. If you full press, you'll throw it. And it's like, it's subtle, but it's really nice. And I like that they, use the DualSense like that. But I don't know to what extent any of the other weapons follow. Like, is that just a handful of weapons that really lean into that? Or
it's most of them, but they all fall within a sort of like a similarity. So all the grenade weapons do exactly what you just described. Yeah, this half press for an aiming like arc, and then the full press to throw. Most of them work with that, like the half presses to lock on, the full presses to shoot something.
Okay.
That's that. Some of them, you get some where a half press like charges your shot and the full press lets it off. So you can
actually,
really
I do have that weapon, yeah. That's cool.
So it's, I agree with you. I think it is a good use of the DualSense. It's much, much better than, all the shooters that are coming out, especially mostly from third parties, where it's just like, okay, well, we're going to make the trigger feel resistive here, and we're going to make the left trigger resistive here. Like, there's actual thought put into each of the weapons. Like later on in the game, you get a sniper-ish weapon, and that's the only weapon where you feel a bit of resistance on the left trigger while you're aiming. But I think every weapon feels distinct enough that, you know, it's really. I like that I played Returnal before this, because Returnal really taught me the art of the half press. Because if you're coming to this for the first time, like, half presses don't feel intuitive, but eventually they just become a sort of muscle memory thing. Yeah. So that aspect of the DualSense use is cool, but I think what really blew me away is the vibration. Like, I mean, you've played the very first planet, is like an alternate dimension metropolis sort of thing.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, you're directed to go towards this club called Club Nefarious. And I literally, I handed the controller to Shani because she was watching me play at one point. I was like, feel this, because you can feel the bass of the music through the DualSense
controller.
But it's so like accurate. That's the only word I can describe. Like, it feels on the controller like what I would hear in my head.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The quality of that vibration. I don't know if they spent like ages tuning that perfectly, but it feels
they have
so
one person whose job
good.
is to do, like, we all remember we joked about Batman's cape. Like, there's one person's whole job was to animate that cape. Now they've got like a vibrations animator.
I wouldn't be shocked
engineer,
because it definitely, throughout the game, it doesn't feel like an afterthought. It feels like something they really wanted to nail throughout, because there's effects throughout the game with the vibration. I mean, even just walking, you feel the little pitter-patter on the controller. And, you know, depending on the surface you're running on, that changes. And they nail it throughout. Like, that club scene is a really good early like treat to that. But man, it comes through in other set pieces, especially, where that vibration really just it elevates it to a new level. And it just shows that first parties are making use of this controller in the best ways.
And I hope
it does destroy the battery on your controller. Like, my God.
But I have to believe that well, not I have to believe. I hope with time the third party people start to realize, like, oh, this is a potential, like, not even just for the vibration, but also the, you know, trigger resistances, using the half press, that sort of thing. It is another way to, like, separate input methods. And like, when we started Returnal, I was there with you. I was like, I can't wrap my head around this half press, full press thing.
Yeah, because it feels so weird at the time.
It feels, sorry for the pun, alien, but it after like an hour, it's muscle memory and it feels good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, just tap it lightly and then push it in all the way.
And it does elevate the game, like giving you that option, that separate option. It really opens up some doors to, you know, right now it's all used in this sort of similar way. It's like a secondary and primary fire on a weapon. But I can see games which aren't primarily about shooting using those things in creative ways. You know, the adaptive triggers don't just have to mimic triggers on a weapon. They can trigger all sorts of things. So I know in Metro Exodus, which got its next gen patch last week or this week, I don't know. You know, they've used the adaptive triggers to, they say, make different profiles for each gun. But there is one gun in Metro Exodus which is like a pneumatic like ball bearing launcher. And the whole thing with this gun is that you constantly have to top up its like gas level.
Yeah.
So I haven't felt it, but I kind of want to feel it. Apparently, every time you shoot it, the resistivity of the trigger changes depending on the level of gas on the gun. So you don't have to look at the meter to know that, oh, if my trigger press is hardly having any resistance, there's probably no gas in this gun.
Okay.
And that's cool. Like that's a really unique way to bring that into that game. So yeah, I hope that more third parties, because that is obviously third party, like lean into it more heavily there. Because in Call of Duty, it was just kind of shit. Like it was
it was,
every gun feels like a trigger press, and that's it.
Even in Resident Evil 7, it was frustrating sometimes because
8, you mean?
8, sorry, not 7. It came to a thing of, so every weapon has its own fire rate, whatever, but there was resistance. I was like, am I just not pushing this hard enough or quick enough? And it, kind of didn't feel great.
It doesn't feel good, no.
Yeah.
And I think the resistance on like on the left trigger, especially for aiming, is just like really shit.
That to me doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It's
why do you? I mean, Call of Duty, was it Cold War? It was, if you pull up like a sniper rifle, it's like
it's like really
I'm
hard.
Like, I get the weapon's heavy, but holy hell!
and then it does that for every weapon. So every aiming down the sights feels like you're like doing a bicep curl with your left finger. And considering you're going in and out of sights so quickly in that game,
that's why my fingers have 6-packs on them now.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It was just like, okay, this is maybe a cool idea. I hope that is the one implementation of that I think is just terrible. I turn it off as quickly as I can because it doesn't feel great. But yeah, sorry, we got off topic here. Ratchet's good.
Yeah. Ratchet good, bad DualSense implementation's bad.
Now Ratchet's really fun. Like I said, I was positive on this game from the get-go. Especially after the reviews were so glowing. I was expecting something revolutionary, and it's not revolutionary. I think it's very much the same sort of Ratchet game, but at the same time, it's still really fun. I had a smile on my face the entire time. And the set pieces are great. And I think, if you bought a PS5 and really wanted to see that thing sing, this is the game to do it, because visually this game is like unbelievable. It's really impressive.
I've seen some photos in the photo mode where even like just on the ray tracing, for example, there was a photo going around this week sometime where it is like just a close up of Rivet's face wearing a glass helmet. And just the reflections, it was like crystal clear,
crazy.
Pristine. Yeah, and I mean when you're playing the game, that there's so much happening on the screen, and it's like the 2016 remake looked like a Pixar movie, but now they've just like turned it up more, and it's unreal how the animations are crisp and so smooth, and it just looks it's gorgeous.
It's incredible, and I highly recommend playing it on the performance ray tracing mode, because like that game at 60 frames is also just insane. It feels so good.
Put on fidelity. I'm like, I can't do this.
No.
It has to be battery smooth.
And you don't really miss out on any of the ray tracing quality or reflections. So I played the whole game through that, and it looked incredible. I also really like a shout out to that fur tech. I don't know what it is on Ratchet and Rivet. You can tell the individual like fibers on their fur almost. It looks so good.
Amazing.
It looks so nice. Like the very first time you see Ratchet up close, and you can tell he just looks fluffy. It just
just want to cuddle him.
Rivet is a phenomenal character as well.
Yeah,
I think she's such
really
a good addition. I really hope there's more of her in Ratchet sequels, because if she's just a one-off character, I'd be very sad.
You'll see it. I haven't finished the game,
as the story progresses.
I somehow don't see them just ditching her for any potential
I highly
sequels.
doubt it. Yeah. No, they really cement her as a real part of like the universe, and she is the heart of the story. Like I love Ratchet, but it was her chapters that I was like most engrossed in.
Yeah.
I think she's just really, really fun.
Here's the big question. The game's good. Would you consider it a Game of the Year contender? Let's see.
So this year's been weird. I don't know. There's not many games I would consider as Game of the Year contenders, even though we're like near July. I don't know. I'm not taking away anyone who says that this is their Game of the Year front runner.
Like, no, not for sure.
I can understand that
not
perspective.
my intention at all. But Your personal opinion.
I don't think so. No, like it's up there. It's definitely one of the best games I've played this year, but I don't think it's like, last year when I played Hades, I was like, yep, this is it. This is my game of the year. I didn't come away from Ratchet feeling immediately like that. Even though I had a really good time with it. So who knows? We'll see.
How dare you.
Yeah, how dare I? I mean, this year's still got a lot to come, but it's definitely up there. I think if you have a PS5, you should not sleep in this game.
For sure.
Like, there's no question that you should be buying into this game. So
yeah,
it's real good.